The dog was a ghost, a phantom of the city's forgotten back alleys. It was a scruffy mix of breeds, with fur the color of dirty snow and ribs that showed through its thin coat. But this ghost had a purpose. Day and night, through scorching sun and freezing rain, it stood guard over a single object, a dusty old suitcase abandoned near a pile of rubble behind a derelict warehouse. It was fiercely protective. If anyone got too close, a curious teenager, another stray animal, a city worker, the dog would transform. Its ears would flatten, a low, menacing growl would vibrate from its chest, and its teeth would bare in a silent promise of violence. It never attacked, but it made its boundary clear. The suitcase was its territory. It was untouchable. Animal Control had received several calls about the crazy suitcase dog. Officer Miller, a man with a patient heart hardened by years of seeing the worst of humanity, drew the assignment. He expected a simple, if sad, case. A territorial dog, probably abandoned along with the luggage. But when he arrived, he saw something more. He saw a desperation in the dog's eyes that went beyond simple territory. It was the look of a guardian protecting a priceless treasure. For 2 days, Miller tried to get close. He left food and water, which the dog would only eat after he retreated to a safe distance. It would gobble the food quickly, then immediately return to its post, nuzzling the old suitcase as if to reassure it. The dog was starving, exhausted, but its duty came first. Miller knew he couldn't just tranquilize it and leave. He had to understand. What was in that suitcase that was worth dying for? On the 3rd day, Miller brought a large, thick blanket. He approached slowly, speaking in a low, calm voice. The dog growled, its body tense, but Miller didn't stop. He held the blanket out, not as a weapon, but as an offering. He sat on the ground, making himself small and non-threatening. He just sat there for over an hour, simply being present. Slowly, miraculously, the dog's growling subsided. It watched him with intelligent, weary eyes. It seemed to understand that this human was different. It took a hesitant step forward, then another. Finally, it lay down, its head resting on its paws, but its body still shielding the suitcase. It had given a silent permission. With his heart in his throat, Miller slowly reached for the suitcase. It was a vintage model, made of cheap, brown leatherette, its latches rusted. He expected it to be heavy, filled with someone's discarded belongings. But it was surprisingly light. He carefully undid the rusty clasps. They popped open with a sad metallic sigh. He lifted the lid. Miller froze. He was not prepared for what he saw. The suitcase was not filled with clothes or trash. It was a makeshift nest, lined with old rags and scraps of paper, and nestled in the center, sleeping in a warm, wriggling pile, were 8 tiny puppies. They couldn't be more than a few days old, their eyes still sealed shut, their bodies small and fragile. Miller was left speechless. He looked from the vulnerable puppies to the brave, exhausted mother who had trusted him with her most precious secret. This fierce, crazy dog wasn't guarding an object. She was guarding her family. She had found the one safe, enclosed space in this hostile world to give birth, a discarded suitcase, and had defended it with every last ounce of her strength. She had starved herself so her milk wouldn't dry up. She had faced down every threat, a lone warrior protecting her legacy. Gently, carefully, Miller and his team moved the entire family. They lifted the suitcase, puppies and all, and placed it in the back of his van. The mother dog, instead of protesting, jumped in right after it, never letting her babies out of her sight. She licked Miller's hand, a single grateful gesture that spoke volumes. At the shelter, the family was given a warm, clean whelping box. The mother, now named Duchess, finally relaxed. Her guard was down. She knew her children were safe. The story of the suitcase dog spread like wildfire, a tale of incredible maternal devotion. Every single one of her puppies, and Duchess herself, was adopted into a loving home.
Duchess's new family would often find her sleeping by an old suitcase they kept in the attic, a quiet reminder of her past life. She was no longer a ghost of the alleys, but a queen in her new castle, a testament to a mother's fierce, unbreakable love. Sometimes what we dismiss as broken or crazy is actually something beautiful and fierce, guarding a treasure we cannot yet see. We just need to have the patience to look inside.